Hello, welcome to another episode of Beautiful Subconscious. I'm Michelle Marie. Today's episode is all about kinesiology being the human lie detector. This was inspired by a podcast episode I recorded today with a very good friend of mine, Jeremy. He has been a buddy of mine for like 20 plus years, like since I was like 15, 16, something on the age brackets of that. And throughout our life, he has just always been in my corner. Little did we know back then that possibly either of us were going to be more in the entrepreneurial route. I would have said him more so than me by all means. And so when I dipped my toe into this world of entrepreneurship, he was in my corner like, anything that you need, I've got you, and has been there ever since. So it was a privilege to be able to share with a wider audience what kinesiology is, because I'm very aware that people are still wondering what it actually is. What is kinesiology? And he responded with that comment, so it's like a human lie detector. And I'm like, yes. You know what? Yes, it is. To a certain degree, it absolutely is. So we will expand on that today. But through a personal check-in, at the moment, I'm not sure about you, but I have been digging being around people. Human interaction is what I have been loving on lately, whether that be at a co-working space, networking like environments, catching up with my girlfriends, just being out of this beautiful sanctuary I've created for myself where I run my online kinesiology sessions from and have in-person people in here too, but to now be in the company of others. And that's the season I'm in now. I feel like we've got a really privileged time of our lives where we get to navigate both working from home, and especially if you're an entrepreneur, you are creating your own lifestyle, hopefully, and you're making it work around your kids or your partner or a lifestyle that you're choosing. And we also get the opportunity to really be outside of the rooms that we create. We can do our work anywhere. And that's what I feel really, really privileged about. And I'm getting in and amongst people. I'm finding co-working spaces, just feeling in that buzz and just really loving on it. So that is me lately. But before we kick off, of course, we do our intentional cards. So for this week's episode, our one will be: the universe will always lead me to where I need to be, and I trust in the process. I surrender. Interesting. So I'm going to read that again. The universe will always lead me to be where I need to be, and I trust in the process. I surrender. Oh, beautiful. Well, already off the bat, the way that ties in for me with the episode that we are speaking on today in how kinesiology is a human lie detector is because we can run these narratives and we can run these stories in service of protecting ourselves. And when the body is indicating something other than the repetitive identity that you have been playing with, it all of a sudden makes you realize like, that story I've been running, that game I've been playing, this, mask I've been wearing, it's calling me out. My own body is like throwing me under the bus lovingly. And that is, it can be humbling at the start, but then also it gives you another perspective in how things have been playing out and other ways to choose. So what happens through a kinesiology session and why it's can be known as a human lie detector is because when people come on in with, say, a symptom, whether it's a physical symptom, they're going through some emotional turmoil, they're having issues in their relationships, they're ready to call in a relationship, they are just again, still just struggling with this threshold of money. They're just like, I just don't know why something just keeps always coming up for this area of my life. And so we use that as the entry symptoms of where we're going to target our session today. And we test the muscles with very specific questions. And so what do I mean by testing the muscles? So this is a technique that had been founded by chiros, I think in the, I'm going to say 60s, but it could have even been even earlier. And this is just to simply test the integrity that the brain and the messaging down the spine. And so the same applies where we test specific muscles. So it can be the forearm, where a client can lay down on a massage table and quite effortlessly just have their forearm, sat up without a leg being up, which obviously after a while they'll get pretty tiring pretty quick. So we use a particular muscle, and then when there is no stress online is the terminology, the muscle can generally hold pretty well. And why is that? Is because the message from the brain instantaneously is running down and sending these neurons down to the muscle fibers to stay contracted without any interference. But the moment you press on that muscle and then you ask the body specific questions that the subconscious deems as stress, then all of a sudden the integrity of your muscle begins to give. And the stress is far too greater for the brain to be able to manage with holding the muscle and holding the stress. So the stress overshoots the messaging from the brain down to that muscle, and all of a sudden it loses its integrity. And so we start to build on this investigative type of technique where we're like, okay, so this is a stress on the body, and we start to explore more questions, more techniques, more support for the body in order to kind of pave an understanding of where that stress has come from, how it's been contributed, and where the origins lie. And the origins can be anywhere. It can start from a physical stress that all of a sudden, if you had fallen off your bike and broken your leg, yes, the physical body can heal, but then all of a sudden, you may start to have created an unconscious fear of riding a bike. And so every time you jump on your bike, you're subconsciously you're playing out this scenario of I could fall and break my leg again. And so your body is protecting itself. It's probably holding a different stance. Your emotions are a little bit more heightened, and then your biochemistry changes up. So there's always things that can start to trip up. And then before you know it, that muscle or remembers that stress, and then your body starts to compensate for just trying to manage the stress that it's subconsciously evoking. And so when your body is asking a specific question, and your mind might be like, yeah, no, I'm good at riding bikes now. I'm fine. You do it all the time. But your muscle might indicate something different. That's indicating that there is still unresolved stress in your subconscious that you may not be consciously aware of. And why is that important to deal with? Is because the subconscious will always control the conscious. And over time, that stress will build until it's addressed. So it may not be noticeable to begin with. It may just start to be like this, quick thought of just like, oh God, I don't want to ride that bike again. Or it could be still just a dull ache in that leg where the break had occurred. Or it could be just a sense of, I don't know, your body hasn't been able to form to the same level of fitness that it had from all that time that you couldn't exercise. So that played this mental, you didn't feel as good in yourself. So all these things start to play out. And so when your body is indicating that there's still stress, even though your mind's like, no, I'm good, we will always honor the subconscious, because the subconscious will always override the conscious until it's addressed. So how this plays out in our world, I think many, many times, is how we can be so resilient in our mind and push our bodies past its threshold until our bodies literally break, whether that's in burnout, whether that's in poor sleep, whether that's in, intolerances, and the mind's like, no, I'm good, just keep going, I don't have time to rest, or I don't have time to get this checked out, and so the mind can take us so far and override until the subconscious is like, enough is enough, you've hit the capacity and the threshold, and now I'm going to have to reset by creating some sort of response or reactive behavior, whether that be an injury, whether that be an illness, whether that be a condition, whether that be an emotional outburst, whether that be all of the above. And so all of a sudden, those things that you thought yeah, no, I'm good for, your muscle is saying another thing, and that's what we always respond to. So that is how pretty much kinesiology is a human lie detector. And why is that such a good thing? Because, all of a sudden you're like, well, I can't hide from anything. And that is a good thing, because you bypass your own BS, beautiful subconscious in one way, but then also your own bullshit. And so that game that you're playing, or that, story that you're running with, all of a sudden you can get behind it and be like, all right, so maybe not that I was conscious of it, maybe that was a bit of a front. Maybe I do need to rest. Maybe I do need to show myself a bit more self-compassion because I have been pushing myself so hard with self-judgment because I don't want to fail and I don't want to show up like I can't do it. So now I'm realizing that what I actually need is a little bit of self-compassion, a little bit of rest, more nutrition in my body, more hydration, more magnesium, more human connection, more fun. And what you thought was right for you, your body is telling you otherwise. And that is how we start to use it in favor of aligning your subconscious with your conscious and collaborating to what's best for you. So that is it, my friends. Human lie detecting through kinesiology is the way forward for your health, your success, and your happiness. So if you feel like you're running a narrative that you're like, oh God, what is this? Check it out. And you know what? I can also teach you ways to self-test, self-monitor. So if you're wanting information on that, hit me with a DM and I can have a chat with you online to instruct how you can. I might even do some sort of masterclass on muscle monitoring and self-testing. So you can just do it on your own because you'll be surprised how accurate it is when you're really cleared and open to your body's own intelligence. So let me know what you think of today's episode. I would love to hear. Hit me with a DM if you're wanting to learn how to self-test. If you're wondering at the moment what is going on within Shell Marie Kinesiology, how can we support you? There is so much happening here. Obviously, our main, most exciting program right now is the Total Life Transformation Program. We have got couples signed up, individuals signed up all around the world. And why? Because you have a whole team behind you. This is where we are taking our subconscious mastery. So using kinesiology as your human lie detector to rewrite your subconscious, but then also having you mentored and coached in specific areas of your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your career to implement every day across the 6 months. So we have the subconscious covered, we have your strategy covered, but combining the two so we can make monumental impact for you come 2025. So if you're wanting information on that, of course, just DM me. I would love to get on a call with you. We've got spaces available and we would love to get you and your partner involved, or you, whichever lands for you more specifically. And if you're based out in Perth, I'm running my first very own kinesiology training, CK 101. It is in person. There is coming the in-person vibes, and you get to start to learn techniques that can support you and your family. If you're wanting kinesiology as a career path, if you're wanting to add it onto what you've already known, because it is such an in-depth modality to really understand what's playing out in your subconscious and also give you access to a higher source of who you are. These techniques are so powerful and they connect you so extensively that it is assumed that not everyone's able to learn it. But let me tell you, I thought of the same thing and was amazed that I could pick that up, and I have the skills and the techniques and the internal connection that I have now. And my life has changed and upgraded in every single area of my life because of kinesiology. So if you're wanting to learn more about it, hit me up. I would love to take you through this as my first cohort or sign you up for the next one that I run, which will probably be start of next year potentially. So let me know your thoughts on this episode. Thank you for your time. And until next week, take care of you.
Audience exclusive.